Hey, what's up, y'all? Y'all know my slogan. I don't know it all, but I know what I've been through. Now, before we get into this video, please make sure you head on down to Instagram and follow us on our official Instagram page at Hookah Anonymous _. We're able to be a little more explicit, a little more uncensored, and share content freely without running the risk of having our channel terminated. So, once again, make sure you head on down to Instagram and follow us on our official Instagram page at Hookah Anonymous _. We're almost at 100,000 subscribers, so if you like this video, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell so you're notified every time we drop new content. Now let's get into what you guys came here to see. Now, man, social media has been on THF Bayzoo's heels, and it seems like the whole image Zoo done built up for himself throughout the years have been crumbled in the matter of just a week from the back and forth with King AK-47, where he challenged him to a fight for $10,000, and then that didn't happen, to him now being labeled as a snitch himself for some paperwork that got out and confirmation from one of his ex-associates, THF Bayzoo. Now, everyone has made their videos explaining the situation, but I wanted to properly assess what was going on before I put my 2 cents in. However, one thing shall remain that I always tell you guys: I don't care what happened or who you are, you don't ever say a thing to police. You say respectfully, officer, I do not wish to speak unless my lawyer is present. And boom, they'll stop asking you questions. Now, I always tell y'all that I'm not a fan of calling anyone a rat or snitch or any of that, because like I've explained plenty of times before, those are words that you must be willing to either take a life or lose yours if you use. But in this case, we're just going to say that something just isn't adding up. And I believe that where there's smoke, there's certainly fire. Now, when it comes to who's telling, I've seen the interview 16 Shot on Visuals did with Bruh, and he's pretty much saying that he didn't snitch. He created his own alibi that didn't affect anyone. And when it comes to THF Bayzoo, he's saying he didn't snitch neither, but Bruh did in fact snitch on him. So I'm just going to get into both sides of the paperwork and give my opinion on the situation, because judging from what's put out there, it seemed like both parties did something that wasn't too righteous, and I'm going to leave it at that. So make sure y'all hit that thumbs up button so we can get this video into the algorithm, and if you aren't subscribed to the platform already, then make sure you do so now. Let's get into it. Now, real briefly, for the people that don't know what's going on completely, July 5th, 2009, a guy by the name of Dominique Barnes was shot and killed in the 4700 block of South Forestville Avenue at around 10:14 a.m. Reports say that 2 men walked up to Dominique, words were exchanged, and one of those 2 men began shooting at Barnes. After the shots were fired, the 2 suspects proceeded to jump into a vehicle and flee the scene. At the time the medics arrived, the 21-year-old Dominique Barnes was already pronounced dead on the scene. Now, to be politically correct, let's go by the 126-page FOIA document that was obtained by Chusky. In the paperwork, it would say, quote, "The victim was standing near the corner of 47th and Forestville when 2 unknown M1s approached the victim. One of the unknown offenders produced a handgun and fired 5 to 6 shots, thus striking the victim multiple times. This information was related by a witness, blank M151. The offenders then fled on foot and were observed entering a waiting gray Chevy Monte Carlo. The victim was transported to Stroger Hospital by CFD number 57 and pronounced by Dr. Dennis at 10:38 hours, blank M142 identified the victim, blank related that blank hangs out with Mickey Cobra street gang members and is known to selling marijuana in the area. No pods or video located regarding this incident." So in a nutshell, the case was cold, with police not having any surveillance footage, description of the suspects, nothing really good to go off of to make a determination of who the suspects were. Most would think that the case was done and the suspects got away. But that was until August 26, 2009, when a detective received information from a young man that was locked up in a juvenile detention. The young man will offer information in Barnes' case, presumably to get a lighter sentence in his situation. But it's weird because as a juvenile, how much time was he really looking at for him to sit there and want to offer any type of information? Unless the minor himself also had a body he was facing and he was probably just looking for lesser time, who knows? But anyway, the juvenile explained that he knew the suspects in the Barnes case and had a motive behind it. So in other words, he had the whole case solved for them. Now, all the names may be redacted, but the juvenile named Devonshire Collier as the shooter in the Barnes case. And THF Bayzoo's name, his real name for y'all that don't know, is Devonshire Collier. I think that's how you pronounce it. Anyway, the paperwork will state, quote, on 26th of August 2009, Detective Vovos received information from officers in the 21st District that they had a juvenile who had information regarding the Barnes homicide. 19503 came to Area 1 Detective Division and related that they had a juvenile, Blank, who provided them with suspects and a motive for the Barnes homicide. Blank received this information from Blank, IR number Blank. Approximately 8 hours before Barnes was unalived, there was an incident at a bar called the 50-Yard Line at 75 East 75th Street. Multiple people were shot after an altercation spilled out from the bar. Among those shot was a GD gangster disciple with a pretty extensive sheet named Blank. Barnes' murder is an apparent retaliation for the shooting of Blank. Blank related that Devonshire Collier, Blank and Blank went to 47th and Forestville to shoot a Mickey Cobra. They saw Barnes selling cannabis and approached him. They asked Barnes, "Are you dirt low?" a GD faction. Barnes responded, "Yes." Collier produced a .357 revolver and shot him. It should be noted at the time of this interview, Collier was in Cook County Jail for a violation of bail bond. So in other words, the juvenile pretty much laid everything out for the police and solved the case himself. They now had their suspects, they now had a motive, so the only thing left for the police to do was to prove the involvement of the suspects who the juvenile said was involved. Now here's where it gets interesting, because this is where people are starting to implement THF Bruh into the case, stating that he's the individual that was redacted in the paperwork. Keep in mind, this is another person aside from the juvenile that spoke in August of 2009, and to be fair to Bayzoo, it was a lot of other guys that actually told on him in this case, allegedly. We're going to keep it at allegedly. Now in the paperwork on June 4th, 2014, it'll say, quote, RD'd interviewed Blank at Cook County Department of Corrections along with POA Pacino from Gang Investigation Division. Blank provided RD with information related to the murder of Dominique Barnes. Blank related that he was outside in front of the building at Blank with Devonshire Collier, Antoine Rice, and Blank. Blank knows Collier as Bebe, Rice as Buddha, and Blank as Blank. Related that Christopher Campbell, aka Gunner, pulled up with Marty Vallejo and Blank, Gray Monte Carlo. Campbell told the group that there are some dirty low guys out there on 47th Street. Blank related that the night before, one of their guys, Blank, got shot at the 50-Yard Line Club, and they suspected that the dirty low guys shot Blank. Blank related that Collier went into the building where Blank lived. Blank related that Collier kept a revolver in Blank apartment. Blank related that Collier returned with a gun, although Blank did not see the gun at the time. Blank related that Collier and Rice got into the Gray Monte Carlo with Campbell and Vallejo, and the group drove away. Blank related that he stayed at the rear door of the building and waited for the group to return. Blank related that after a short time, Collier and Rice ran up to the rear door of the Blank and entered the building. Rice told Blank, "This guy is a killer," referring to Collier. Collier told Blank, "I told you these hollow tips will kill a MF." Collier told Blank that they asked the guy for some weed and then asked if he was dirty low. When the guy said yes, Collier said he shot him. Collier then pulled out the revolver in the stairwell. The gun was the same gun that Blank had seen in Blank house with the hollow tip bullets. Collier took out the empty shells from the gun, then brought the gun back to Blank apartment. Blank related that Collier sold the gun to Blank. Blank identified clear data warehouse photos of Devonshire Collier, Blank, Antoine Rice, Blank, Christopher Campbell, Blank, and Marty Vallejo, Blank. Now to be honest with you, we from the outside probably can't tell who's snitching and who's who, but you gotta remember, when these guys are involved with each other and actually was there, they know who said what because they know who told what to each other. They know what the dialogue between each other was. They know who stayed behind and who did what. So they can't come out and say, yeah, well, such and such was there while we left and went there, but it's inside knowledge. So when you hear Bayzoo saying that this one told on me, maybe it's because they know who did what and who said what. Or another possibility is everyone is just trying to throw the blame off them and trying to say, I'm not a snitch, he a snitch. Well, he not a snitch, he a snitch. You see how that works? Because nobody wants to be labeled a snitch. But anyway, if y'all want the full paperwork, it's out there for y'all to see yourselves. But for the sake of the video, we already got the important information out there. In a nutshell, before Zoo was arrested for the body, he was already being cooperated against first. Zoo was arrested for first-degree M of Dominique Barnes on November 5th, 2014. Now here's where it gets interesting, because although THF Bruh has stated that he didn't say anything, one mistake involving the paperwork says otherwise, and I just want y'all to decipher if it's true or not. And I can't take the credit for this part because as I was already doing this video, a video by Street Certified News was sent to us where someone says that he caught something. And that something was a redaction on the 120th page of the 126th page FOIA document where one of the witnesses' names were left uncovered in a written statement by detectives. In this statement, it would say, quote, Blank related that Devonsha went into the building where Blank lives and came out with the gun. Blank related that he did not see the gun, but he knew that Devonsha had it. Claire, right? Claire related that Gunner, Marty, Devonsha, and Antoine Rice got into and then that's where it ends. Now for y'all that don't know, Claire is the last name of THF Bruh, with his full name being Kenyatta Claire. And if you know anything about official legal paperwork or any type of legal documents for that matter, period, they always go by your last name. They refer to you as your last name, not your first name. So I'll leave that up to you guys. I got my opinion on it, but I know how some people may not want to believe the obvious. But if it's involved in official paperwork, unless he got a good reason where the paperwork is stating or why the paperwork is stating Claire said such and such, then I don't know. But I'll leave that up to y'all. Now when it comes to THF Bayzoo, aka Bebe, I'll also leave this up to y'all. However, in the documents, it said, quote, RD showed Devonsha Collier, which is Bayzoo, several clear data warehouse photos. Collier identified Blank as Blank, Antoine Rice as Buddha, Blank as Blank, Blank as Blank, Christopher Campbell as Gunner, and Blank as Blank. Now, let me tell y'all one thing, right? I don't care what anybody say, and I know everybody tends to be biased on the internet and pick and choose who they would like to hold accountable for certain things. However, the same rules apply to everyone. And I'm sorry, but there's no way around it. Now, Bayzoo did bad. It's not me saying it. It's not anyone else saying it. It's not no other blogs. It's in the paperwork. It stated that he identified people, confirmed who they was with photos, the whole 9 yards. Now, for y'all that aren't familiar with the streets and think it's harmless and naming people just because they wasn't locked up at that current point in time or whatever, for one, it's not. It's not harmless because what you are doing is putting names to faces which can hurt someone in the long run, whether they're locked up right then and there or not. Or let's say the cops didn't know this person as this person, and in another case, they needed to identify them. You just identified them. So now they know that they are such and such. And this paperwork been out there. I honestly think that when Trenches News responded to Bayzoo when he wanted to fight him and he told people to look into Bayzoo's 09 paperwork, that's when everyone kind of seen that Bayzoo pointed out people and named names and whatever. So now it's been like a big thing. It kind of like backfired on him. He wanted to fight Trenches, but this paperwork came out. I don't know. So is that mixed with the whole THF Bruh situation, alleging that Zoo was snitching as well? It's a whole lot going on, man. But on another note, word to the wise, right? While these guys are on social media and saying who's snitching and who's not, y'all got to be very careful playing on this social media. There's no statutes or limitations on a body. So while these guys are on social media saying things like, oh, this one and that one is snitching, they got to be careful and keep these things off social media. Because with all this going on, you got blogs that's explaining what happened in 09. Then you have the paperwork exposed. Then you got Zoo doing interviews saying that bruh is snitching. Y'all don't think them people watching? Right? Because the first thing they're thinking is, well, if you innocent, why would you say that someone snitched on you? And for the ones that's going to come in here and say, well, he already beat the body, he can speak on it. Just remember that it could still be picked up by the feds if they have enough substantial evidence or reasonable doubt to believe that Zoo is actually the suspect. So these guys got to be very careful. This internet stuff could be tricky. I know it's hard when people calling you out your name and you trying to defend yourself. It's hard. But that's why, like I said, you just got to stay off social media because it could be tricky. But anyway, y'all jump in the comments. Let me know what y'all think about this. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Hit that bell so you're notified every time we drop new content. And remember, as long as you keep on watching, I'm going to keep on dropping. And I'm out.